Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and today I do indeed have a fountain pen I want to share with you. But why do I have this fountain pen? If you are a fan of the channel, and a lot of you are, I thank you for your likes, your subscribes, and all that good stuff. You're wondering, didn't he already do a 601A? Yes, I did. I did two of them. So why? Why would I have three? Well, honestly, this third one, it's your fault. Because you told me, even though I was reticent to get this tubular nib, that some of you had had good experiences with it. And I do listen to your comments and take your word for it. And so I said, you know what? I think I'm going to try that tubular nib. And so I did. It is reminiscent of the Schaefer Triumph. I like that retro look and everything about it. And so I decided to bite the bullet, and several months ago, back December of 2020, I think, I ordered this pen, and I've been writing with it ever since. And I like it, but why? Well, let's flip the camera and dive in and see. Okay, let's look at the Wing Sung 601A's design, and I will take it apart and show you some of the features and things like that. So first, it is a good-looking Parker-inspired pen. You'll notice that traditional feather clip, which is a nice springy functional clip. This gold tone cap that comes in a few different patterns. I really like this one, and I think it's nicely done. It does have, let's see here, the Wing Sung and the model number, the 601A, and Chinese characters on that side, and made in China on this side of the cap. Then, as we look over the rest of the pen, you come down the barrel, and it's hard to see because they've done a great job of finishing this pen, but there is a seam here because this is a cap. This is a plunger-filled, piston-filled pen. So you would, this is empty by the way, you depress the plunger and let that up a few times, and you will get a good fill. Usually 3 or 4 times, maybe a couple more than that, will get you a really good fill of ink on this pen. And as you take the cap off, you will also find an ink window, or a plethora of ink windows. As I said, I did clean this pen out so that I can show you how it is filled, so I'll also take it apart. On that cap, there is a plastic sleeve inside. I've never had any of these 601s or 601As dry out. Just very reliable, well-made pens. Let's look at the nib before I break it down. The nib is the reason that I bought this particular pen. I already had a couple of 601s, and I have one that is hooded. I have one that is a standard nib, and then you guys in the comments on that last 601 review talked me into I'm blaming you for this expenditure. Talked me into trying this one. I had always heard that this nib was scratchy, and so I had avoided it. And then several of you said that you had this pen and you loved this nib, which is inspired by the 1940s Schaefer Triumph nib. Not identical, but inspired by. Quite similar. And you said it was good. So I said, well, you know what? I kind of like collecting these 601s anyway. I'll buy it. And you know, this is a good writing nib, and the one that I got. It is a fine nib and well done. A tubular nib, you will notice. And that's kind of unique, unusual, and pretty cool. But it is inspired, again, by the Schaefer Triumph of the 1940s. Heavily inspired. It also says the Wing Sung Company name and made in China on this two-tone nib. You can also get this in just a single-tone steel nib. Okay, now once we open the pen up, which you don't do, of course, to fill it, but you do to clean it. It's an easy pen to clean and service with silicone grease and things like that. There will be, of course, silicone grease here. I'll add some more on that as I have just cleaned the pen, and there is an O-ring. You'll notice that there is an ink tube there, feed tube there, to get the ink out of the reservoir down inside the pen. And that's pretty much it. Very easy to clean, easy to fill, easy to maintain. I've had no issues with leaks, dry outs, hard starts, nothing. Just a very reliable, everyday carry worthy pen, and one that is, I think, quite a good looking pen. And of course this nib makes it a bit more unusual compared to its more traditionally nibbed, hooded, and standard nib brethren. Okay, now let's look at how the pen fills up with ink. Okay, as you probably already noticed, I do have a bottle of diamine oxblood, and I think that pairs with this pen quite nicely. And all you have to do is put this down in that bottle, and again, to press that plunger 4 or 5 times. Usually 3 or 4 will about get it on most of these pens I found, and that is it. So now I will clean up the nib and we'll see how the pen writes. Okay, well, you will notice some of this is already written because when I thought I hit record, I took a photo. So this is the Wing Sung. It is the 601A, and it is a fine nib that I think even goes a little bit, especially on this rhodia paper, extra fine. And of course you already know this is diamine oxblood. You know that because you saw me fill this pen with ink. And you're observant. Okay, it is, and I think probably partly because of that tubular nib structure, adds a little bit of stiffness to it. It is a nail. Writes nice and smoothly, but you're not going to get variation or anything like that. It's not buttery, glassy smooth, I will say. Probably a little bit of time with some micro mesh, and it would be, but I haven't done that. I like to review pens before I do anything like that, and so I haven't done anything yet with this pen. This is just as it came to me. I'm going to be quiet and let you listen. Test for wetness, and that's a good amount of ink for a fine nib, not too dry at all. The audible feedback is not at all even up to pencil level. And the pen is really well balanced. I really like the ergonomics of it. Of course, it's a long proven design. How about a quote today? We'll do this early on. I enjoyed this one. All right, let's do a quick size comparison to some other pens. So that's the Wing Sung 601A. It seems like it would be right to bring in the Parker 2021. Is that this year? 2021 reissue, and of course, naturally, fairly similar in size and style, just not price. And if we're going to bring that in, then we might as well bring in the Jinhao 85. I do have a Jinhao 86. Somebody asked me about that. I have the 86 coming, but it's probably going to be another month or 2 before that ever comes in. And then here is, just for variety's sake, a Sharpie S-Gel. That gives you some idea of the differences that don't exist in size here in this lineup of pens. Of course, it's going to be similar to pens of the same style. So let's put something else there. How about the Bic multi-pen with a highlighter instead of the green ink? This one came with a highlighter ballpoint pen. So that's kind of different, but there you go. So a pretty standard sized pen. Okay, now let's sum things up. Okay, so what do I like about this pen? Well, I like the style. I think you know that. I have 3 of them, and so I must, right? But I like more than that. I like that these pens are so well made for the money. There really is a great value proposition. It is a classic style. It's a retro classical sort of a pen, mid-century modern sort of a pen. And if you're into that sort of a thing, then this is a great pen for you. They have a great track record, and of the 3 that I've gotten, I have not gotten a dud, and I appreciate that very much. I would tell you if I had. How does it compare to, say, the Jinhao 85 that I had out here for a second ago? Well, I think materials-wise, I think that these three are a little bit more classic, obviously, in this. This is a little bit bright for some people, but they have this in other styles, such as a flighter version, which I have, but I have not reviewed, but you can get this in a flighter. And then this becomes a less expensive pen, but it's still going to be only offered in that hooded nib, which I like that. And actually, you can swap that out with a bobby nib, which is always nice. You can do that with the Wing Sung as well. This has a better ink capacity, the Wing Sung does, because it is that plunger type, so it holds a bit more ink than does the Jinhao 85. Compared to the Parker reissue, well, the Parker is probably just as nice a pen, but you're gonna pay. All four of these pens are less than the price of that pen, so there's that. But price out of the way, this does not really bring anything to the table that these don't also bring to the table. And in this case, filling mechanism wise, the Wing Sung is the more unique pen of these three. So I really do like them. And do I recommend it? Yeah, I do. If that's your thing, if you like classically styled pens like this, then definitely you need a Wing Sung 601 of some sort with one of those nibs in your collection. All right, God bless you and have a great week.